These are 5 simple sounding out tricks that will save your child so much confusion and frustration when they're learning to sound out words. And the last one is one that most parents don't even know, but it makes a huge difference when your child is stuck on a word. My name is Danae Yaboa. I'm a reading specialist and creator of Reading Rescue Blueprint, an online digital reading program that gives you everything you need to teach your child to read without knowing how to teach your child to read. You can access all of our free reading lessons down in the description below. Let's dive into our first sounding out trick. Did you know there's one tiny letter that can completely change how a word sounds? It's in so many words, and its job is actually just to boss around these letters, which all happen to make 2 sounds. It's called the silent E. Check this out. So take a word like raw. Now typically this letter O sounds like aw. Now as soon as we add an E to the end of that word, this E is going to make the O sound like a different sound. So it used to say aw. Now it says it's O sound. So it goes from rob, to robe, robe, just because of that silent E. Same thing with kite. So it starts with kit, which makes the I an I sound, kit. As soon as we put that E on the end, it's going to jump back and change that I to an I sound. So now we've got kite. Now you can practice this with your child using index cards, and you can just write words like this with a short sound, thin, and have a flip out E so they can see really the difference between thin and fine. You can also do this with sticky notes, or you can grab my free download which has lots of these examples in it that you can just print off and fold over at danaeyaboa.com/flipcards. Beyond changing just vowel sounds, we also have a few other letters that make 2 sounds. So for example, the G can say G in most words, but if it has an E beside it, it changes its sound to J, like in gem. And also the letter C, usually it says K in words, but if we add an E to it, it changes its sound to a S, like in cereal. So again, that E's job is to change the sound of letters that have more than one sound. Now your next most logical question is to ask, okay, but why do the words have and give have a silent E, but we don't say have or give? Now the reason for this is because there's a really weird rule in English where words just don't end in the letter V. So if you think of the words alive, love, competitive, all of them end in that V sound, but they never end with just a V. There's always an E following it. So in those cases, the E isn't necessarily there to change that vowel sound. It's just there because of the V. Now for our third trick, we're going to keep in mind what we just learned about the letter E and talk about it in terms of what we call vowel teams. So since we're used to the E bossing around other letters, let's think about what would happen if we put an A and an E over here. Now this E is going to make the A say A again, as in Sunday, the ice cream. Same thing with IE, as in pie. So that E is making the I say I. Or if we have OE, as in goes, the E makes the O say O. So all of these vowel teams, it's the first vowel that does the talking. Now this isn't just in an E combination. This is true of if you have an AI together, it's going to say A. Or if you have a UI, as in juice, you're going to hear that oo. Now please don't leave me nasty comments about these 3, which make different sounds altogether, but we'll talk about those in another video. Here's the 4th phonics trick. Has your child ever tried to sound out k, can, or ham, and had a hard time going from that to can or ham? This is because of the Whiny A rule. Anytime that an A is followed by N or M, it changes its sound to an eh sound, like ham, can. Now this isn't true of all regional dialects of the world, but in my dialect and where I'm from in the world, we teach it as a Whiny A because it needs to change to that eh sound as soon as it's followed by an M or an N. Now for our 5th and final trick. So your child's clicking along, reading those nice 3-letter short vowel sounds like sit and run and can, but they come to a word like fizz or bell, and all of a sudden they're sounding it out like bell. Or they see cliff and they go cliff. is it that these words end with two consonants doubled? And it's the double consonant trick, also known as the FSZL trick. Basically, if a word ends in these four letters, f, z, or l, then it's going to be doubled in these words. So anytime that your child's trying to figure out why is there a double at the end of that word, just remind them of the FSZL trick. This is also a really handy trick when they're spelling, if they're listening to hear that f, l, s, z. Any of those sounds come at the end of the word, it's most likely double. Kids will start to see doubles in a lot of longer words, and actually what it's doing is preventing that bossy E from telling the other letters what they should say. So it keeps bigger from becoming bigger, which is what would happen if we just had one G in that word, because that E would make that I say I. It's the same thing with dinner. If we just had one consonant in there, it would be diner. But when we want to make sure that that consonant doesn't change its sound, we have to double it in order to protect that I from changing its sound. Your child may be ready for that, but they also may not be. But it's good for you to know as they approach longer words and they start to try to spell longer words, to remind them to double up that consonant to protect that vowel from changing. And that's it. 5 simple phonics rules that will help your child to sound out lots of different words. If you found these helpful, be sure to smash that subscribe button and also get ready to join us over at readingrescueblueprint.com. Click the link in that description and get access to your free videos. And I will see you in the next video for more tips for your child to read, succeed, and totally flourish.